possible scenario and investigating all leads we're getting to help piece together exactly what happened. As I've said before, this is truly a horrific event for our city. First off, I want to just reiterate that I'm so thankful that the two officers were not severely injured. I'd like to thank the Philadelphia Police Department, the Office of Emergency Management, and other public safety partners for their rapid response to ensure the safety of all event guests and that the parkway was evacuated and cleared quickly so that everybody got home safely. The fact that no one was seriously physically injured during the evacuation is a testament to the deep and months-long planning process that the city employs for major events like these. While I'm grateful for that, there is no doubt about it, this is a deeply traumatizing incident for our city. No one wants to feel unsafe when they are out in public attending a celebratory event. I was down on the Parkway, as I am every year, and witnessed families enjoying what was supposed to be a great family event. It had a great vibe, and it was a great day, and the weather was perfect. Unfortunately, as we've seen across the nation and here in Philadelphia, gun violence is all too prevalent in our communities. And the common thread, through so much of this violence, is the proliferation of guns. The regularity of these events here and across the country is heartbreaking. This incident, combined with the absolutely devastating news out of Highland Park, Illinois, earlier in the day, has left us all shaken and looking for answers. The untold impact it has on each of us, including Philadelphia youth and families, so many of whom attended these celebratory July 4th events, cannot be ignored. For those that may be coping with trauma from this incident, please know that supports are available to you and your families through the city's Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability Services. If you or another person are in distress and need immediate help, call the Philadelphia Crisis Line at 215-685-6440 anytime, day or night. It's 215-685-6440. For mental health services, you can call 888-545-2600 to be connected to support. That's 888-545-2600. It is perfectly understandable to not be okay. If you think you need some support, please reach out and you will receive it. Now, as I said yesterday, I want to address the comments I made at the first press briefing at Jefferson Hospital. It was very late and I was overcome with emotion and frustration after such a beautiful day. I'm incredibly grateful to be mayor of the great city and for the people who elected me to lead. What I was getting at was the collective weight of the issues in our city and nation that have wrought collective trauma. There has been so much tragedy in this country of late, and many of us are dealing with the trauma and our feelings of frustration, anger, and deep sadness about the issues plaguing our society. I ran for mayor with the goal of helping every Philadelphian reach their potential. As mayor, I feel personally responsible for the well-being of every Philadelphian, and it's a weight I carry with me every day, every waking moment. And I know that far too many residents worry daily about their safety and their loved ones also. Our residents deserve to feel safe in their city, and our traditions cannot and will not be ruined by the scourge of gun violence. I love our city, and as mayor, there's nothing more I want than to help solve this problem and keep our residents and visitors safe. Now, for more updates on the investigation, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Police Commissioner Joel Dales and Chief Inspector Frank Venor.
Good afternoon. My name is Joel Dales. I am the Deputy Commissioner of Patrol Operations. And with me I have Chief Inspector Frank Venor, who is the Chief Inspector of the Detective Bureau, Chief Inspector Michael Cram, who is the Chief Inspector of Homeland Security, and on the 4th of July he was the overall commander of the concert and fireworks detail along the Parkway, and also have Chief Inspector James Kelly from Regional Operation Command South, who was the overall commander of the Independence Day Parade, South Street, and also Penn's Landing. Before I pass over to Chief Inspector Frank Venor, I just want to give you a quick update on the officer status. Both officers, they are home recovering. They are both in good spirits, and they're both eager to come back to work. I also want to thank Montgomery County Sheriff's Department for their continuous support and also their partnership, especially during the 4th of July detail. And lastly, I would like to mention that the officers who work the detail, the officers, supervisors, and commanders, they did an outstanding job with evacuating over 1,000 people from the Parkway. Over 1,000 people. And out of those 1,000 people, we had 3 folks who suffered minor injuries as a result of the evacuation process. So with that, those officers did an outstanding job. So I want to commend them for that. So now we'll pass it over to Chief Inspector Frank Venor, who will give you a quick update on where we are with our investigation in reference to the shooting on the Parkway. Frank?
Good afternoon. I'm going to go over some things we know and some things are working theories as the investigation moves forward. Everybody knows that this occurred about 9:47 p.m. on Monday evening. Let me give you a little bit of history on what happens just minutes before. As the anticipation of the fireworks being set off, one of the patrol commanders moved into position, the highway patrol, to cut off pedestrian traffic in front of the Art Museum, which would have been in the 2500 block of the Parkway. What they do, they line up in a straight line and ask all the people to remove from that area. Most of the people are between that area and the stage, where the street ends and the stage is, sitting on the grass, getting ready to watch the fireworks over the Art Museum. What we now know is, just before this, Officer Diggs, Highway Patrol officer, walks to throw something in a trash receptacle before he gets lined up. He walks all the way down to where the bikes are. There's a trash receptacle there. He throws it out. As he turns to walk back, he believes, and this is in his interview, that he's hit over the head or an object hits him of some kind. All right? What we now know is that a bullet, probably coming in a downward direction, we're not sure exactly how his head was turned, but we have his hat here, and you could clearly see, and I'll hold it up for you later, that the hole in the hat is on top, and it's in a downward trajectory. That bullet was found in almost pristine condition inside his hat. All right? He stumbles, all right, and some of the officers notice. They don't know what's wrong because no one has reported hearing a gunshot at this point. So this is just before the fireworks, almost simultaneously, because about a minute or two later, the fireworks start. He's stumbling. Somebody notices blood. At the same time, about 20 feet away, is Montgomery County bomb tech Officer Foster. He's about 20 feet away on the same sidewalk on the side of the building. He sees Diggs. He starts moving towards him and feels what he believes is an object hit him in the right shoulder. He believes he's hit with an object. He keeps walking, and he looks down and sees some blood on his shirt. Both of these bullets were recovered. One was on the sidewalk by the bikes. The other one was obviously, a lot of you have seen, inside of the hat. Neither one of them penetrated their bodies. They cut them, but they did not enter. Both bullets were recovered, and they are, we know now through scientific analysis, they are fired from the same weapon. So those two bullets, but as you can see, and anybody who's seen a bullet hit anything at a high velocity, it's going to flatten, it's going to bend, it's going to fragment. These bullets look like they were fired into a water tank. All right? So we now know that we believe that they're .40 caliber rounds. All right? So the .40 caliber round is just like the round, we're going over comparing rounds, but it's on the third row here, 2 in. That round, that type of round. There's other .40 caliber rounds with other grains. This is the type of weapon it is. So that's what we have as far as the bullets we recovered. There have been a lot of comparison, people telling us there was gunshots in my neighborhood a few blocks away. We've been comparing stuff there. We have not matched anything else to these two rounds at this time. Now, one of the other things we know is because the bullets were moving so slow and there didn't have much momentum left, is a .40 caliber round can travel unimpeded. Now you don't know what the wind was, you don't know what the other variables, air density. It could travel over 2,200 yards. All right, then it's going to stop and it's going to come down based on what other variables there are, wind and weather and anything else that's going on. And it's going to also depend on the way the person's arm that fired it was. So if I'm holding it straight up, there's a chance it's going to go up, it's going to stop, and then depending on the wind, it could move, it could go back. If I'm standing somewhere and I go like this, well, that could travel a long 2,200 yards, over a mile, and then it's going to come down depending on which way the wind's blowing. It could be in the other direction, it could be in the same direction. So you have no idea. Just to give you a little relevance, all right, Officer Diggs, when we believe he's hit, he's right around here, and Officer Foster is about 20 feet away on the side of the building, right in front of the Art Museum. all right? The people are all here, and we were just attempting to stop people from moving through the Eakins Oval area so they're not in harm's way when the fireworks are going off right overhead. That's pretty standard. We do that all the time. So there's a lot of theories. We believe now, based on no one hearing a gunshot and based on the way this bullet came down, is they were quite a distance away and not on the footprint. I mean, they could have been anywhere behind the Art Museum, in the south end of the Art Museum. I mean, some of the detectives said to me they could have been on the expressway or beyond. I have no idea. I mean, this is why we're asking people, anybody that was video and attempting to video the fireworks, if you have video, send it to us. We'll analyze it. If it's not relevant, we won't use it, but we'd love to see it. So contact the Homicide Division, send it to our DIVIC so we could take a look at the video, especially if you have video around the time right around the fireworks start. We've done an extensive search with canine dogs, metal detectors, grid searches with officers. We have found no other ballistics. That doesn't mean that these were the only 2 shots fired, but if they just landed softly and went into the grass, we could never find them. So we're looking now to back up our theory by finding some video in those other areas. We just haven't been successful at that yet. All right, and that's really all I have to this. I'll wait if there's any questions. I don't show anybody else's next.
Questions? I'm sorry. Okay. Yep. Yep.
So I was wondering, why do you regret saying it if that's how you feel?
Well, Matt, first of all, I'm a human being. I get frustrated. As I said in my remarks, I take this job personally. Every homicide, every shooting is a little piece of me torn away. I just left the bedside of Officer Diggs. Thankfully, it was interesting because he was standing there in a hospital gown with his highway boots on. So it was like an interesting look, and a big bandage on his head. I could clearly see he was okay. Met his wife, his mother, his grandmother, hugged all them, and just went outside, and I was a little raw emotion. We had a beautiful day that day. The weather was perfect. The vibe was perfect. And because of a gun, that all shattered. And I expressed what I was feeling at the moment. Next day I got up, put my feet on the floor, got dressed, came to work, and here we are.
But Mayor, what is the more accurate statement?
What?
I mean, you say now you love the city. And
I do love the city. I've lived in it my whole life.
why is it what you said Monday night also accurate, that you want out of here?
I don't want out of here. I'm not resigning. It was the frustration of the moment, Jeff. I'm not a robot. I'm a human being.
So that's not an accurate statement.
It's not an accurate statement until I actually retire in January 2024.
What would prompt you to say that?
Frustration. Frustration over the fact that we are expected to solve a problem where all the tools to solve the problem have been systematically taken away by the legislature. And that's a frustration for me that we can't even pass our own legislation outlawing straw purchases. And despite what the progress the Congress has made, it's really not affecting us because it doesn't deal with semi-automatic handguns or ages to where you can't buy a gun at a certain age. So I expressed, again, I'll answer this one more time. I was frustrated, I was angry, and it was a long day, and I expressed that, and I'm here to be mayor to January 2024.
It sounded defeatist.
I'm sorry. It's not. We don't give up. I come to work every day. We work all day.
But that night it sounded defeatist.
That night I was frustrated, Jeff. I'll say it again. Frustrated.
Can I ask about the actual investigation? Is it fair to say there was no shooting at the parkway? Is it a fair, accurate statement?
I believe, and we believe, the investigators believe, that if someone in that crowd, beyond that crowd, heard a gunshot, there would have been pandemonium. There would have been crowd reaction, as we see in many of our videos. And the officers that are standing there are some of our most experienced and trained officers. None of them heard a gunshot. We have no video evidence that there's muzzle flash or anything from that area. Well, I believe they went over radio. They knew both of them were bleeding, and they wanted to rush them to the hospital. That was the urgency there. I don't know. I can't answer for why anybody else did it. I think people reacted off other people's reaction. I would be speculating, but like I explained, if you're over a mile away and they're aiming for the officers, that would be almost impossible, okay, because they shot it into the air and it's falling down in the wind. That doesn't work that way. I mean, I fire a gun, it's hard enough to hit a target when I was trained to do it. So you're going to fire over a mile and have it come down in an area to hit 2 police officers. That would be hard. But right now, that's based on the evidence and the interviews we have. We have nothing else to support that they were targeted. I mean, right now, we'd need to know, I mean, you see where it went into his hat? Problem is, I don't know, and he probably couldn't tell us to the best of his recollection if he turned his head, if he put his head down, if he had his head back when he was walking back from the... So I'd have to know exactly where his head was and exactly how the wind was blowing, because this was probably just in a tumble coming back down to earth. For a .40 caliber, and this is... Sure, this is based on the science. We know if you fired one up unimpeded, it could travel about 2,200 yards, which is over a mile. Now, anything gets in its way, a gust of wind, something knocks it down, that could change. Something carries it a little further, that could change.
When you're asking for video, can you expand on what you're actually looking for? Are you looking for people firing off someone on the expressway that they have been caught? What are you envisioning?
So, listen, the video that they send would have to be around from 9:40 on, and it could not be relevant to them. It could be way away from the parkway, but it could have some meaning once we get more information. So any video we collect, and you've seen we did this with South Street, once we collect it and we start piecing it together, we could see what we see and we could put it with other video. It kind of gives us a progression of what's going on. So if somebody has cell phone video that they were using, we urge them, send it to us, even if it's just of the sky. Sure. Away from the parkway, even if it's further back, south of it, west of it, whatever it would be.
We did that on police radio that night. There's a description about a car going somewhere on 76, and I believe that was kind of, that was
In the chaos, there were 911 calls. We actually went into one of the apartment buildings, but none of them were related to my knowledge.
Yeah, so what you're talking about, what the police officer believed was they saw the highway patrol officer rushing the deputy sheriff to the hospital. So they didn't know if it was involved in the shooting or not. So they thought the police were in pursuit. So that's what that was about. I'm sorry? Well, that came from multiple commanders. So just to let you know, I'm going to clear this up. If you look at the video before the fireworks started, everyone was sitting on the lawn preparing to watch the fireworks. No one knew that the police officer was shot. I was literally there myself. We didn't know what we were dealing with. The officers didn't even know they were shot. So when we started asking questions, one officer says, "No, he's definitely shot." I said, "Okay, we need to get him to the hospital." So at that point, we put the word out, let's evacuate the parkway. All commanders were notified. They put the word out. And again, I just can't stress enough, the police officers did a great job with evacuating over 1,000 people from the parkway. Yes, sir. Over 1,000.
You're always tasked with what more could be done, right? You're always tasked with next time, Made in America. It sounds like the circumstances provided here today with the Philadelphia Police Department, the amount of personnel you had on scene there, with the question, is there more that can be done?
Well, there's always room for improvement, I will say. Good question. We are going to take a close look at everything we've done, what happened, what could we have done better. Next week we have an after-action debrief, and one of the conversations we are going to have is in reference to our exterior zone coverage. We're going to take a look at whether or not we need to expand the exterior zones. We've been doing it for years. I've been a part of the planning process as a command from the rank of captain all the way up to my current rank. And I've worked at detail as a police officer almost every year, just about. And the planning, so we're somewhat the same. Every year we evolve and we make changes every year. If you notice now, we have blocking vehicles in place because of the current climate, what's happening around the world, right? So now we're going to have to take a closer look at areas where we may need to put up temporary cameras. If we have blind spots, we have to put temporary cameras up at those locations. But we are going to take a close look at the exterior zones moving forward. Also, where can we post cameras temporarily during these events. One at a time. Hold on, sir. Go ahead, sir. Well, I'll tell you on our end, again, we're going to reassess the current plans that we had in place for the past few years while policing the Made in America event. And again, we're going to take a close look at the zones that we have in place, whether we need to expand the exterior zones or whether we need to plant cameras in certain areas across the MI. I will say one thing about that detail. It is well secured, I will say, based on how it's set up. It's a little different as to how we police the Made in America versus the 4th of July detail. So those are some of the things we'll be looking at.
Where are the mags located? How reliable are they? Was anybody turned away for another?
So with the mags, I can't go into details in reference to what occurred at the magnetometers, but I will say we had approximately 17, am I correct, 17? 17 magnetometers that were in place.
Were they all in one location or was it
We had 9 different entrances. Hold on, sir. We got Pat, ma'am. Want me to translate for you? I can do it. Okay. You got it.
Given that there's not going to be a reduction on events planned for the city, are you planning to increase the security perimeter for events such as Hispanic Fiesta taking place on the weekend?
Yes, every major event that we have moving forward throughout the city, we're going to reassess everything we have in place and make necessary changes.
Efectivamente, cada evento que se está planificando en la ciudad va a ser evaluado para evaluar y ver si se hacen cambios a la seguridad. Philadelphia has just been selected as one of the cities hosting the World Cup, the Soccer World Cup. How can you enhance security to ensure that visitors and fans are safe in the city?
Well, the good part is we're going to have multiple partners assisting us with the security planning. The planning has started as far as the meeting-wise. I'm sure by next month, I believe, we may have our first meeting. And those are some of the things we will be talking about. But we will have a lot of help as far as coverage-wise from federal, state, and also our local law enforcement agencies.
Efectivamente, nosotros estamos haciendo planes de seguridad que vamos a incorporar. Empezando el próximo lunes tenemos una reunión para tratar de discutir cómo podemos obtener ayuda y vamos a tener cobertura con ayuda federal, estatal y posiblemente local. Gracias.
Mayor Kenney, it's possible that people may be hesitant to come back to an event on the Parkway. What's your vision for restoring that?
Well, I think people would go about what they normally used to doing and coming to our events. We're not going to cut back on any events. As you heard the Deputy Commissioner say, we're going to kind of reassess what we're doing and maybe have to expand the zones. Made in America, I think, is the next really big one. They've always had magnetometers. I think this is the first time we've used them at Wawa Welcome America, and again we had 17 of them, so they'll be employed again. I just think that we need to move forward and not be paralyzed by fear, and continue to do the things we're used to doing as safely as we can with the right planning. I mean, the one thing I was really very impressed with the other night was the training of our officers is top notch. I mean, those men and women knew exactly what they were doing, exactly how to move people, and there was not an overwhelming sense of panic. People were leaving in an orderly way. So I think we have to continue living. We can't hide in the closet. We have to live, and hopefully we'll continue to try to get some common sense gun laws in this state, in this country, to keep these weapons out of people's hands who would fire them indiscriminately. Sorry. Yes, I know. Well, I'm sorry. You're asking for different. Yeah. Taking 6,000 plus guns off the street. making sure that we do a thorough job in investigating the crimes so people who are doing these crimes and killing people go away, and also prosecuting shooting, having intelligence that we can get ahead of what's happening out there, what beefs are brewing, what arguments are brewing, who might have a gun, who might use it, who might be a person that's vulnerable to being shot. Those things we do every day. But it doesn't mean we have to give up on trying to get some kind of sensible gun legislation. I mean, extended magazines, semi-automatic handguns, 15-year-old kid. When I was 15 years old, I never saw a gun. No one knew how to get one. And you can go to one of these gun shows up in the county, buy a bag of guns, no questions asked, bring them back and sell them in Philadelphia. That's something's wrong with that system, and it needs to change. What? Because I got elected with 80% of the vote, and I work hard every single day. I put my heart and soul into this job. I care about people, and we're trying to do positive things at the same time keeping people safe. And I will continue to do that until my last day in office. Well, I'm not getting that from lots of folks who are contacting me both by phone and by email and by text. Basically, very encouraging. So, I mean, I know social media is not a good barometer of what people really think. It's a lot of trolls out there, but I've gotten a lot of support from people. Okay. What? Yeah. She was a very. I'm not going to do. It's not the place for mayoral endorsements at this moment. Everybody has an opinion. Some of my colleagues have opinions, and they're free to express them. I mean, that's just the way this profession is. She did call me in the morning. It was a very brief conversation. She didn't say she was going to say what she said, but look, everybody has. It's a very emotional, very frustrating situation, and everybody is, wound tight over it. No, he hasn't talked to me about it. And stop and frisk is, I mean, it means lots of things to lots of people. And I don't think we should be doing that again with young men in our city, just randomly stopping them, going through their pockets. I mean, those were old policing tactics that put us in a situation that kind of made a confrontation between our communities and the police department. And if he could define what he's actually talking about, maybe we can have a conversation. But I'm not. What I'm used to knowing about stop and frisk, I'm not willing to bring that back. Yes. I'm sorry. We're reviewing the data to see how we can better coordinate all of our law enforcement partners together. I know that the U.S. Attorney's Office has been taking many cases, a lot of these carjacking cases they've been taking, which we applaud them for helping us. ATF has been wonderful with us when it comes to investigating things and gun crimes. So we're working together, and we can all do a better job. But I'm not going to get into a territorial dispute. The district attorney is an independently elected person. He doesn't work for the mayor, and no, I understand. And we do work. I understand, and we do work together. And we're trying to do a better job. Okay.
That's it, guys. That's it. We're at time. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Hey.